Hi, I'm Mike Canberger with Tricky Fast Studios. Today I'm going to show you about the progression system in Cat RPG Builder. By the end of this video, you should be able to set up a player character with experience and levels and set up their leveling table, as well as use it to drive progression through adding abilities or other items to the player, and then also to set up a skill tree for the player and allow them to buy items off of it. To start here, we have this pretty basic example level. It just has some geometry. It has a player set up as a first-person controller, and that's about it. So one thing we're going to need to do is add the progression service. Now, if we look under the progression service, it has a list of tables. These tables are all stat level tables. Now, it's entirely possible to use tables that are saved in an asset bundle and not define them here. And in fact, in the last video, we did define one here in the stat video to show how leveled stats work. So we can do that again here and add a max health table. There's no other parameters for the stat service. Now on the player, we do need to add a progression manager. And the progression manager has some things. Experience, level, those are obviously going to be set while you're playing. The number of skill points you have, let's start with one. So then we need an experience table. Now you can create experience tables by right-clicking and going to create Cat RPG experience table. So we have one right here. Let's give it 10 levels. So for each level, we add experience required. So this first level here is level 1. This is usually going to be the starting level, so you want the experience required to be 0. Again, there's a bug here where some of these are not showing up with the correct names. But this value here would be a title that you would get at that level. And that's added to your character's name. And then you have actions and remove actions. So actions should be set to a prefab of an action list that defines what actions get run when you are granted that level. And then remove actions is just the opposite. What actions are run when that level is taken away from you, since it is possible for levels to be removed. Now, typically, in some games you may not even need that, so you may only have to add the add actions here. So at level 0, we don't need to run anything. Level 1, let's set our experience to 100. Let's just do the experience now. I'll do 500, and then 1,000, and then 2,000, and then 3,000, and 5,000. Oops. 10,000, 15,000, and for this last level, we'll do 30,000. Kind of random, but you know. So what we can do is we can create a prefab for an action list by going to Action, Utility, Action List. Create an action list here. It is going to yell at us because it's not a child of a state machine, but that's okay. We don't need to worry about that right now. The first thing we want to do, so what would we like to do when you get granted this level? Let's just do something silly here and spawn. Oops. What happened? We'll spawn something, right? We'll spawn a health potion. Target at the player, parent, no parent. So when you gain this level, we're going to spawn a health potion. Let's go back to our experience table, and what we need to do is we need to, well, let's call this level 1 actions, and then we'll save this out, get it out of our scene here. So then in this is actually level 2, so we named that wrong, but that's fine. We're going to add that over here. Set that for level 1 action. So when you get to that level, this thing will spawn. Now the next thing we want to do is to go back to the player, and we set our experience table. Let's just make sure we set the right one. Now we could obviously persist this. Usually you want to do that at the character level. We're not going to do that right now. So in our canvas here, let's add a new button. And we'll call this Grant Experience button. Okay. Let's take a look at where that is. Let's move that down. Sounds good. And like we like to do with buttons here, let's make that into a state machine. We'll grant experience. So we need to add a button, button trigger, UI button. And underneath that, we want to add a grant experience. So we'll target the player, and we'll grant them 100 experience. The next thing we can do here is add some text to show our level. Actually, let's copy our health bar here, and we'll call that our experience bar. And we're going to change the color of our fill here to blue. So that seems a little better. And let's move that up. I guess it kind of looks like mana, but let's remove this. So in order to show our level, we can add a UI data binding for UI level progress fill data bind. And we just want to target the player on that. So this will fill up as we get higher in our level. So what we can also add is we can add another data binding thing for stats here is UI experience data bind. Let's just put this 0/100 so we can see it. Where is it? I see, it's off the screen. Okay, so put that there. Oops, wrong bar. Put that in this bar. We want to center that. Get back to the game. There we go. So target is the player. We do want to show the next level. And this will show up to the next level. Now let's also add a new text here. Cat UI progression. We'll add a UI level text data bind. I'll figure out where the heck that went. We'll move that up there. Move it over there. And just make sure we got the right spot. So now again, target the player. And that will just display our level. So we can add a prefix that says level. semicolon. So it'll look something like that. We'll put in 0 so that we know that it's changed. Okay. So now if we hit play, you can see our level bar here is completely filled. I think we chose a bad text color on that. So let's fix that so that the text color is not white. Let's go with black. So one thing we actually probably do want to do is go over to our level 1 action here, and let's just change this target here so that we add an offset, and we're up to and over to, just so that we're above the ground here and stuff like that. All right, let's give that a try. Now the first time we hit this button, we should go up to level 2 automatically because we're giving 100 experience points, and we should spawn that thing. So XP, hey, it's a thing. We're at level 2. We have 100 out of 500 experience points. So let's hit it again. We're at 200, 300. See the bar is filling in, 400, and we hit it again. It's going to go to level 3. Oh, we're level 3. So now we can give more experience. Keep going. Level 4, level 5, level 6. Let's add another button, and we'll call that buy skill item. Instead of grant experience, purchase skill tree item. Now, we're going to need to make a skill tree item here. So cat, RPG, progression, a skill tree. So first we make a skill tree, and then underneath the skill tree, we can make a skill tree item. So let's add this one as potion. You would usually have these be abilities. So now under skill tree item, we can have some conditions. We've added this potion. We're going to call it potion. We're going to give it a description. Skill point cost is 1. Let's give it an icon. And so we can add conditions underneath it. We can also make this into an actual tree by using the hierarchy here. You can call this potion 2. Right. Let's give this a different icon here. So we'll give this create health potion. And then so we can add actions underneath it. So let's just do a spawn action here. All right. So spawn. So now since we've set this up where potion 2 is underneath potion 1, the regular potion, you have to buy this potion before you can buy this one. So spawn action, let's go find our health potion. Oops, there it is right there. For prefab, parent none, target player. Gotta set that offset again. So set 2, set 222. Okay, so, and then we can do the same thing under, oops, what did I just do? We can do the same thing under potion 2, except for we'll spawn 2 of them. And put one of them somewhere else. Okay. So now we have a little skill tree. Let's give it a name. Let's give it an icon. We'll just give it this icon here. Due to the way skill trees work, there's no automatic way to sort of set up the UI. So we're going to have to just set up our own UI for this right now. So, however, did we make a skill? We did make our skill by skill tree action or button here. We didn't move it though, so it's right in the middle here. Actually, instead of let's not do this way. So we'll open a window here. Let's call this by tree item. And so we will create a new panel, and we will make that somewhere in here. Okay. We'll add a text here. Center. Center that. Skill tree. Our panel. Under our panel, we will have a data bind base. And so let's put our skill tree. It should actually go under our progression service here. And we'll call this main tree. And so on our by skill item, wait, where did we put the data binding? Oh, sorry, that's on our panel. We're going to data bind to named, we'll just call it main tree. So now everything on here, so we can set our text here and we can have our text data bind. Right, and we can data bind that to owner, and we want to call that tree name. Okay, so that'll bind to the tree, the tree which we set to the skill tree. Oh, let's fix. And then we can add a button. And we'll call this potion button. So let's add underneath the button, we will add UI image data bind. And we will bind it to, oops, and our button, we want to add a data binding base to. And we want to owner, but then path potion. So that it's going to bind to potion over here. And text can be potion, and the UI image data binding is going to go to owner and then icon. So that should show the potions icon. And where's that? And we want that to be a lot smaller. And over here, and the text should be over there. Cool. Up, and our text is a UI text data bind. which we want to bind to owner, and then item name. All right, so here's our potion button, and we want to make that into a state machine. And add a UI button trigger. And under the button trigger, that's where we want to have a purchase skill tree item action. And so now for the target, obviously the player, the tree item is going to be owner, but we need to use the actual thing that it's bound to using the data binding. So we're going to click on use data binding. So now that'll make it add the potion thing. So the next thing we can do is duplicate this and do potion 2 button, and on the data binding for that, we want path to be potion slash potion 2, I think. All right, so if we look up here, our main tree has potion and then potion 2. Okay. So we need to move this button down a little bit, just so we can differentiate it right now. Potion 2. Okay. So if we hit play, oops, we left that UI up. We can see that it did bind to the skill tree. All right, well, you don't need to leave that UI up. Okay. So we're going to call this panel, we're going to call that skill tree panel. We're going to turn that off. Actually, we're going to, before we do that, for each one of these things, when you buy it, we're going to make the window disappear. So we'll add a set enabled action. Oops. That shouldn't go under there. Owner, we're going to just do named skill tree panel and set that not enabled anymore. Duplicate that, put that underneath there. So whenever you click any one of those buttons, it's going to disable the panel. And then on our button, we need an action here. So actually, we can just paste that action. Right? Oh, I thought right. Now we can copy and paste that action. Set that to enabled, so skill tree panel will be enabled whenever we hit that button. So actually, to do this right, we need to target the main canvas and then add a path. And in the path, we want to add the skill tree panel because it's disabled, so we can't reference it directly. So one other thing we're going to have to do for both these purchase tree item actions is to add a path, and we'll just set it to text. So we're going to reference this text thing and get the data binding off of that. So let's do that over here, add a path, text. So that will go to the potion 2 button, text, and use the data binding on that. So let's disable the panel. Let's give this a try. We can see that the data binding worked. We have the skill tree, we have potion 2. Notice that they got the correct icons and correct names. Now if we try to buy potion 2, it's not going to work because as you can see, potion 2 has a prerequisite of potion 1 just by being a child of it. So if we try buy potion 2, it doesn't work. Nothing happens. However, we can buy potion 1, and there it is, potion 1. So now, theoretically, we should be able to buy potion 2, but we don't have any skill points left. So that's why we can't buy potion 1 or potion 2. So let's add another thing to our level 1 action here. So let's add a grant skill points, and we'll give 3 skill points to the player. And let's also add cat UI regular text data bind. Let's put it up on here and over here, and we'll call that skill points. And then the value is going to be on the player, and then we just want to bind to skill points. So when we start up, this should say 1. We have 1 skill point. So if we buy our potion, now we have 0 skill points. And now we level up. We have 3 skill points because we got that from leveling up. And now we can buy a tree item. If we try to buy the potion, it doesn't work because we already bought it. So now if we buy potion 2, we got 2 potions. Now, I mean, normally, obviously, you wouldn't use your skill tree to just buy items. Instead, you would probably purchase abilities. But we haven't talked about abilities yet in a video, so we'll be doing that shortly. Same thing with leveling up. You would probably grant abilities. You might increase ability scores using the stat system. And in fact, speaking of that, let's look at our leveled stat. So we did cover this a bit in a previous video on the stat system, but we did make a leveled stat over here, which is attached to the progression service, our max health table. So let's actually get rid of that. Well, let's make a new one. So let's go under here. So we can create a new one. Create cat RPG stat level table, and then we'll go health table. I'll call it max health table, and we'll give it 5 levels. So for each level, we just specify. So we'll start off with 100, and then we'll do 130, and then we'll do 200, and then 250, and then 500. So your health will go up each level. So we do have this health bar here. So if we add a value holder to the player here, and then we add a fuel stat, and then a leveled stat. So for our fuel stat, we're going to call that health. For our leveled stat, we'll call that max health. And we're going to come back over here to our progression service. So we need to actually set our level table, and that was max health. So let's see, where is that? Max health table. So we'll add that. And then for max health, this is the asset bundle name. We're not using asset bundles, so we're going to just use max health table. This is whether to prepend the class and the race. We don't want to do that. And then our health we'll set to 100 to start, and our max value we're going to set to owner max health, which is the one we just set up. Now that we have this, we can go over to our level health bar here, and we can just remove this, And we can add a fuel bar data bind. And we can bind to player and then health. And we should also add underneath this, let's add a UI text. Right, we'll just put that in the right spot here. Oh, let's center it. Okay, so we can add a fuel bar text or fuel text data bind, and we can do show max. And for the fuel, once again, player health. All right, let's give this a try. So we start off at 100 out of 100 health at level 1. If we give ourselves some experience, we should be at 100 out of 130 because we never actually reset our health to the max when we level up. We could actually do that, but we aren't. So now our health looks like it goes down because it's 100 out of 130. And then if we go up to the next level, it's going to be 200, I think. Yep, 100 to 200. So similar to how we grant experience, there's also actions for granting levels, granting skill points, and then also you can have some conditions for whether you can purchase a skill tree item, whether you have enough experience, whether you have enough skill points, and whether you have a skill tree item, and also whether you've made a certain level. There are triggers for all of those things as well. And then for the loot system, we could also add different types of loots. So if we look here, under loot, we have skill point loot, we have experience loot, and we have level loot. So we can add all three of those things as loot as well. I think that about wraps it up for the progression system in CAT RPG Builder. In this video, you should have learned how to set the player up with experience points and levels, and how to set the level tables, how to grant experience points, how to set up a skill tree and purchase skill tree items, as well as setting up the UI for that, and also how to set up the UI to show the level and the experience points, and also how to do things when you gain a level or when you purchase a skill tree item. I hope you found this video informative and useful. Let us know in the comments if there are other videos or tutorials you'd like to see. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on social media for the latest videos and other news. For more information on CAT or CAT RPG Builder and how they can help you build and prototype RPGs faster, please visit catgamebuilder.com. I'm Mike Handverger with Tricky Fast Studios. Thanks for watching.